3 hours later Jane woke up. She looked around her and could not find her baby. She asked the nearest nurse, "Where is my baby?" And she ignored her. She stood up and started searching frantically for her baby. A group of doctors saw her and tried to hold her down, but she yelled at them persistently, "Where is my baby?" They tried to avoid the question, but when Jane continued demanding answers violently, they finally told her the truth. She broke down and cried for several hours. When she finally became tired of crying, she asked the doctors to excuse her, that she needed some rest. The doctors reluctantly left her and Jane went back to sleep. When Mr. Martin came back, he met his wife sleeping. He waited and waited for her to wake up, but she did not. Unknown to them, Jane had already died out of heartbreak in her sleep. When Martin could no longer bear it, he decided to wake his wife up by himself. He shook-band her and shook her, but she barely made a movement. Martin became alarmed and called the doctors. One of the doctors came out and within seconds confirmed Jane was dead. Mr. Martin felt like his world was falling apart. He couldn't believe he lost his son and his wife on the same day. After the burial ceremony, Mr. Martin was left alone with his daughter Sarah. He tried his best to take care of her, but the death of his wife weighed deeply on him, so he started drinking. One day, after a night of heavy drinking, he woke up in bed with one of his coworker, Ruth. Ruth was the only person that has been taking care of him and his daughter Sarah and cooking for them ever since his wife passed away. He even tried to push her away, but she refused. When Martin realized what he did the previous night, he apologized to Ruth. They both agreed that it was a mistake and it will never happen again. Few months later, Ruth informed him that she is pregnant with his baby. Martin asked her to get rid of it, but she refused. Instead, she moved in with him and demanded to be married properly as a wife. Martin has no other choice but to marry her. He reasoned that Ruth might be a good mother to Sarah. But when Ruth gave birth to her daughter, her behavior changed. She started maltreating and beating Sarah, calling her all sorts of names. She called Sarah a witch that killed her mother and her brother. She told Martin to throw Sarah out of their house lest she kill her and her newborn baby. 1 year later, Ruth got pregnant and had another daughter. That was when her wicked behavior intensified. She treated her daughters like gold and Sarah like trash. She starved Sarah, made sure she wore only tattered clothes, and stopped her from going to school. Martin do not know all these because Ruth pretends to treat Sarah well when only he is around. This continued till many years later. One day when Sarah was 19, Martin went on a business trip and got involved in a ghastly accident. He sustained a head injury and went into a coma. The doctors said it would take him a long time to recover. Ruth thought he would die and abandoned him at the hospital. Only Sarah continued to take care of her father. Meanwhile, Ruth went to the bank in fake tears and lied to them that her husband is dead. The unsuspecting bankers consoled her and believed her and gave her control of Martin's bank account. One day it was announced that the son of the city governor has returned from his studies abroad and he is throwing a high-profile party for all the young people in the city. Betty and Clara were super excited for the party and went out of their way to prepare for it. Their mother took them to the shopping mall and bought the best clothes, shoes, and bags for them. During the D-Day, Ruth spared no money in Martin's bank account. She invited the best stylist and makeup artist to doll them up. When the party was going on, the governor's son slipped into the party unnoticed and observed all the ladies, but none caught his attention. After some minutes he got bored of the party and decided and went to his room to take some alcohol to clear his head. After taking it, he felt so lightheaded and the whole house became stuffy. He decided to step outside for some fresh air. He put on a hoodie and sneak out of the mansion so that nobody will notice. He went to a park to enjoy the natural scenery. Meanwhile, back in Sarah's house, her stepmother did not allow her to go to the party. Instead, she assigned her with a big chore. After doing a mountain of chores for the whole day, Sarah was tired and feeling sleepy, so while doing the dishes in the kitchen, the plate slipped out of her hand, fell to the ground and broke into several pieces. Ruth heard the sound from where she was watching TV in the sitting room and rushed out in shock. When she saw what happened, she hurled abuses at her. As if that was not enough, she threw her out of the house, saying, "I can't spend the night with a witch." Sarah pleaded with her, "Mom, please don't allow me to sleep outside," but Ruth shut her door and went inside the house. Sarah wandered about in the night till she became tired. She decided to go to the nearest park close to their house and rest her legs. Once she sat down, she broke down in tears. She was so sad and lonely. She had no family, no friends. Suddenly she heard footsteps and a strange, tall man stood before her and asked, "Who are you and why are you crying here late at night?" Sarah ignored the man, but he persistently continued asking. Sarah gave in and narrated the whole story of her life to him in tears. The stranger was touched and he comforted her. They sat together for several hours discussing and laughing. When the time came for the stranger to leave, he told Sarah, "I have never seen a woman like you before. I think I am in love with you." Before Sarah could respond, he drew her closer and kissed her. Sarah was flustered. This is her first kiss. The stranger asked for her number, but she didn't own a phone, so the stranger gave him his own and a piece of paper and left. When Prince came back to his father's mansion, the father was furious. "We organized all this lavish party for you and you disappeared, leaving our guest disappointed." Prince replied to his father, "I didn't ask you to throw a party for me, father. You ungrateful child, you are to be locked in your room till further notice." His father locked him up and the prince groaned in anger. After staying in his room for so many days, his insanity began to get affected. The best physiatrist doctors were procured to help him, but his condition was not getting any better. Prince kept mentioning the name Sarah. Sarah. And the doctors asked his parents, "Who is Sarah?" But his parents don't know any Sarah. So the doctors said that Sarah needed to be present before Prince could be cured. The governor sent out an announcement that his son Prince is looking for a certain Sarah. The news spread throughout the city. When Ruth and his daughters they thought, could it be this Sarah? Clara answered, "Sarah is dark and ugly. The prince can never give a second look." When the day came, girls in the city gathered outside the mansion of the governor wearing their best clothes. Even those that were not named Sarah were there, including Betty and Clara. While Sarah was saddled with a heavy chore at home, they were to go inside one by one and see the prince. After a whole day, none of them was the Sarah Prince was looking for. 1 week later, Sarah was sent to the market to go and buy groceries. When she came across the governor's mansion, he was starstruck by the magnificence of the structure and he stopped to admire it. She was approached by a guard. The guard was impressed by kind manners and asked for her name. She said, "My name is Sarah." The guard asked her, "Did you come to the mansion the day all the Sarahs were required to come?" And she answers, "No, I was too busy with my chores." The guard said, "The event is over, but I am going to give you a second chance. Go and see the governor's son, you might be the lucky Sarah." Sarah said, "No, I have not met the governor's son before and my mother will be angry with me." But the chief steward convinced her, "Go and try. I am going to drive you home." Sarah reluctantly followed the chief steward into the mansion without knowing that the stranger she met in the park is the governor's son. Sarah was ushered into Prince's room. Immediately Prince saw her. He screamed and stood up for the first time in many days to go and hug her, chanting, "Sarah, Sarah." His parents and doctors were frozen in surprise. When they recovered, the governor asked his servants to prepare a feast and doll Sarah up. After they were done, Sarah was so beautiful, she was almost unrecognizable. Prince recovered instantly and joined them in the feast. Prince proposed to Sarah and the wedding was fixed immediately. Meanwhile, back at home, Ruth and his daughters were wondering why Sarah is not yet back. When the day came, it was the talk of the town. Important dignitaries from all walks of life were present. Sarah was the envy of all the girls in the city. Sarah's stepsisters heard what happened, but they did not believe it, so they walked to the event center by themselves. When they saw looking unrecognizable in her elegant wedding dress, they screamed in horror before they were thrown out of the hall. Prince and his family transferred Mr. Martin to the best hospital in town and immediately his brain function was restored. It was discovered that Ruth connived with his former doctor to tamper with his medication to deplete his brain function and keep him in coma. Mr. Martin woke up to see his daughter all grown and married to the love of her life. Ruth and that wicked doctor was arrested and made to face the law, and Sarah lived happily ever after with her husband.